Hey, what's up? Welcome to Two Old for Comics. I'm Steve,
And I'm Mike.
and today we're going to talk about something that's on the tip of everybody's tongue. With we're about a month away from the Captain Marvel movie coming out, so because we love synergy so much, we're going to talk about something near and dear to the cosmic universe of Marvel.
To our hearts.
To our hearts.
Mind you as well.
Dan Slott's run on Amazing Spider-Man.
And it was a great run. I wouldn't say great. There was great things about it, and there were
Prolific.
Yes.
It's a prolific run. Dan Slott, he about a year. He's been writing Spider-Man for the past 10 years, for the past decade. He's a generation Spider-Man writer. Not my generation.
Not our generation, only because we grew up reading comics from the 80s and 90s. And at the time,
that was an age of wonder for us.
Yeah.
Now we're in an age of cynicism.
Yeah. And we also had 5 different Spider-Man books at one point, so it's really hard to pinpoint which writer and artist was our.
Before we bought comics, we loved them. Now we buy them because we hate them.
Yeah.
we like
I need to have every issue of Amazing Spider-Man so I can have that complete run someday, or as much as possible. So I'm going to keep buying issues even if they're shitty.
I need something to complain about, so that's why I was buying slots.
Hence the reason we're too old for comics, because we're going to be angry about everything.
So anyway, Dan Slott, if you don't know who he is, he's a writer for Marvel. He came up writing Ren and Stimpy comics, and then graduated to Marvel Comics sometime in the late 90s, I want to say.
Well, Ren and Stimpy was published by Marvel.
Okay, all right.
Because there was an issue where Spider-Man shows up.
That's right. Marvel had a bunch of licenses to a bunch of different stuff. Steve Ditko. We're gonna go off on many tangents. Steve Ditko drew an issue of Tiny Toons comic.
That I did not know.
That's insane. So I mean, it's not that far fetched for Dan Slott to write a Ren and Stimpy Marvel comic. But anyway, so Dan Slott was he's a writer for Marvel. If you don't know what he looks like, he's kind of he looks like the Fred Claus.
Yeah, he's a round man.
Yeah.
And
who's the giant from Harry Potter?
Hagworth.
He's like if there was an older unsuccessful brother for Hagworth, he'd be the Fred Claus of the Harry Potter universe.
He's the we don't talk about brother of Hagworth's family.
But he'll make sure you know he's around though, because he will make his presence known during Thanksgiving. But when he has enough stuff in his face, that's dumb. We're not gonna just shit on.
Hey, we won't shit on him, but I laughed at that.
Yeah. Nice guy, and really kind of burnt out the end and left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. But anyway, we're gonna start. Dan Slott got his start. I think it's the first time he wrote Spider-Man besides the Ren and Stimpy one, which I didn't know about. Was in Spider-Man Human Torch. It was a miniseries, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, really good. He then got a job. Well, after Marvel relaunched Spider-Man in the late '90s, they kind of did a soft reboot again with JMS. How do you say his name? Straczynski?
Yeah, I just say JMS because it's such a hard word to say.
So when he ended his run during One More Day. That's an episode we can play some Depeche Mode, light a few candles, and we'll delve into that. So after that, Joe Quesada broke up Spider-Man and Peter Parker. Mary Jane.
Yeah, yes.
And then we went into a Brand New Day, which was the new old status quo of Spider-Man, where he was single, never married Mary Jane,
living on Aunt May's couch, and basically they made him into a giant loser.
They did. They reverted him back. It's like the Billy Matt. If you go back to high school, it was like the back to school version of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Default Spider-Man.
Except Billy Madison was funny, and this was not funny.
Yes. So Dan Slott was one of the 4 writers in the Spider-Man Brain Trust, which was Slott, Bob Gale of Back to the Future fame,
and one of the greatest trilogies of all time. And I will fight anyone who disagrees.
Who was the other one? Zeb Wells of the Howard Stern Show, and Mark Guggenheim, who just finished a horrible run on X-Men Gold, and also was one of the main writers on the Green Lantern movie with Ryan Reynolds. So
Jeez.
get off Jeff Johns' back.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't all him. So Brand New Day, Slott was wrote a bulk of the stories on there. He graduated to the main writer mostly because he wrote two of the most memorable characters out of that run, which were Mr. Negative, who still to this day, he's been in a couple storylines since then.
Yep, and he's in the new video game, plays a big role in that.
Yep, he's from what I hear, he might be making a cameo with Martin Lee in Far From Home. That'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And Screwball, the character who won't die.
Yep, and who's also in the new Spider-Man game. And I gotta tell you, I really wish I could Superior Spider-Man punch her in the stomach. But this time, instead of stopping, going right through her. And any of you guys who's played the game, you'd probably feel my same sentiments because she's just so fucking annoying in that game.
And that's a threat too. Mike just came back from the gym and his sleeves are rolled up.
I got him sleeved up.
I can see his guns going, and we're talking Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah,
with no ribbons though. He doesn't even need the ribbons tied.
I'm gonna run down to the stage and be out of breath before I get down there and have a 3-second match with Screwball.
So yeah, Screwball should lay low for a little while. But she was also in the new cartoon, the new Disney XD cartoon. Which, if you thought she was obnoxious in the pages of the comic, holy crap! Wait till you see her.
And she was also in some issues of Spider-Man Deadpool as well.
Was she?
Yeah. I think even Deadpool was like, didn't you almost kill her or some shit like that? And I'm like, I wish.
Who's better, Screwball or Rocket Racer?
Hands down, Rocket Racer.
Rocket Racer.
Because Rocket Racer is not annoying.
Is Rocket Racer really Randy Robinson is Joe Robertson's son, right?
Yeah, no, he's
in the cartoon he was Robbie's son, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. That's dumb. They make everybody connected.
And I like how back in the late 90s, Randy Robinson and Peter Parker were roommates. And now in the Spencer run, I'm
just waiting for the Calvin, is that the name of the cheese that was in the moldy cheese?
Yep.
I want him to make a cameo back.
Oh, that would be phenomenal, but it'll probably be Boomerang who has the moldy cheese.
Maybe. That and the Psycho Dog from across the street. You always watch Peter undress or whatever. I don't know if you watched him undress, but that maybe I was imagining that in my head.
The dog would watch him at all times.
The dog, the owner was the hot, blonde, the bimbo.
And that was also another post Peter Parker Mary Jane breakup when she was out west filming movies and whatnot.
What a great run, Paul Jenkins' run. But anyway, we're talking about Dan Slott's one. Dan Slott was part of Brand New Day. He wrote the Miss Negative stuff. Then New Ways to Die, which was his birth. I think it was a 6-part storyline with John Romita Jr.
Yep, and we were teased with Norman Osborn knowing who he was, and it was just a big tease again.
Just like the dangling of the cheese.
The first of many disappointments of
with Mary Jane, which Slott said we'll never get back together. Even if J.K. Rowling decided to write Spider-Man, she wouldn't have the juice to get them back together. But apparently a liberal deputy mayor from Washington could get them back together, though, not J.K. Rowling. So he started teasing that also during Brand New Day, which I thought was during Big Time, but it actually was during Brand New Day, was when they started teasing Ben Reilly, which if you're a Ben Reilly fan, God bless you, because which I am. But the Marvel will never miss the opportunity to kick you in the balls for loving Ben Reilly.
Especially with Ben Reilly. I mean, they brought him back finally, and he was a twisted image of himself. Another reason why Dan Slott doesn't understand the characters that he works with sometimes.
Mary Jane and Ben Reilly, if you like them, Slott knows you like them, and he's gonna fuck you.
Yep.
3 times during Dan Slott's run did he bring Ben Reilly, not brought him back. Well, he brought him back twice.
Yeah.
The first time was was a fake out. There was a cover with the Scarlet Spider thing. You thought he was coming back, and then it turned out to be a Power Ranger.
Remember that old man on the commercial with the fishing pole saying, "You almost got it, the purse"? That's Dan Slott, and then there's me and Grez with the Mary Jane and the Ben Riley on the hook saying, "Oh, you almost got it. You almost got it."
Yep. And then you finally get it back, and it's like a boot.
Yep.
They take the boot off. So Dan Slott, he did those storylines, and he graduated to a sole writer of Amazing Spider-Man during Big Time, which Dan Slott was going to make the Spider-Man the best he could be. Spider-Man Peter Parker the best he could be. It was relaunched with 3 artists. It was coming out bi-weekly. Humberto Ramos, who did some previous work with Spider-Man with Paul Jenkins, redesigned Green Goblin and Doc Ock to coincide with the movies at the time, which didn't look anything like how he did the movies.
Not at all.
It was who else? Stefan Caselli and Marcos Martin, who I wish did more Spider-Man, but he I don't know. Apparently he chooses projects very carefully. So
and that was the peak of what should have been and should still be Peter's success.
The Horizon Lab stuff you're talking about?
His first day on the job when he got it, Max Modell, his boss, was like, "You can come in at any time as long as you create results." And
Peter Parker's dream career.
Yeah. So this gave the perfect platform for him to be out as Spider-Man, and during his free time when he's not, he's down in his lab creating stuff.
To be the best, he creates tech to become the best Spider-Man, and as Peter Parker, he's happy as a pig in shit because he has to sit in front of a lab all day in front of a microscope.
And it was kind of funny because he was rushing back to get back in, and like they wanted to know what he was doing. They never see him, and it's probably a little twisted and sick that I know this, but he gets back in just in time, taking his suit off, and that's when they get in, and then there's Peter Parker naked, saying, "I work best when I'm naked."
Another reoccurring theme with Dan Slott loves for Peter to gear down.
Yep.
In his Grundies or just bare ass naked. One thing I will mention about the Horizon thing, did you when that first came out, didn't you say, "Wait a minute, didn't we already do this in John Byrne, Howard Mackey's run with Tricorp?"
Yep. I think as soon as that came out, I felt that.
I did. I noticed it, but I think Slott did it better. Yeah. Because when John Byrne and Howard Mackey did it, first of all, Howard Mackey had no interest in writing Spider-Man at that time whatsoever, and for them, it just kind of seemed like a United Nations, cast of characters that had no character growth, no personality.
And I will say this: that Brand New Day is a brush of fresh air compared to Chapter 1, where Spider-Man and Doc Ock got their powers at the same time, and I think it was even the same. Was it Tricorp? Where they tried to tweak the origin where Peter got his power of the Tricorp years ago?
I don't know if it was a Tricorp, but it was definitely they tried to tweak it so it wasn't a science demonstration. Yeah. It was a Dr. Octopus demonstration.
Yeah, and that's what causes everything to go off and Peter to get bit by the radioactive spider.
John Byrne in the 90s is dumb.
And that was also at the end of a time when Spider-Man wasn't really the greatest.
Oh, no, there's only been 2 times in my life where I could not read Spider-Man anymore, and it was during the last part of Mackey and Burns' run, and during the last part of Slott's run.
And I thought Byrne would be a breath of fresh air for Spider-Man.
I never did.
Man of Steel stuff, and it was just nope.
When Byrne was on the title, there was I remember the Wizard World message. Remember Wizard World?
Yeah, that was. I went to one of those in Boston, but
continue. They used to be these message boards, and creators would go on once in a while and post things. Ralph Macchio, not the Karate Kid, the editor of Spider-Man at the time, he told us a bunch of pitches that other creators had for Spider-Man before Chapter 1 happened. Some of them included Mark Waid and Andy Kubert, Joe Kelly and Brett Booth, who did a Backlash Spider-Man, which was beautiful, and Jeff Loeb and Joe Madureira, which I would have exploded in my pants.
How many times were we teased with a Jeb Loeb, Matt and Joe Mad storyline where he was supposed to bring back Gwen Stacy or something?
Oh, no, that was J. Scott Campbell.
Okay.
Joe Mad and Jeff Loeb pitched an idea. They wanted to do a Spider-Man comic, but out of continuity. And Ralph Macchio said that, and no, not Ralph Macchio, Bob Harris said, "That's a dumb idea. We're not doing that." And a year later, they launched Ultimate Spider-Man, which is exactly the idea for the Jeff Loeb and Joe Mad, which is funny because Jeff Loeb had been destroying the Ultimate Universe when he came back. But anyway, back to Dan Slott and Brand New Day. Did you like Brand New Day?
Big Time.
Big Time. Did you like Big Time?
Yes, like I said, peak of Peter Parker's career. Spider-Man was popular again. It was during the heroic age.
Yep, the 5-minute hero.
Yep.
They had that banner for 2 comics, and that was it.
So that was really great. Spider-Man being where he needs to be, Peter Parker being the height of his success, in my opinion. And we got 3 or 4 great new suits, which one Scarlet Spider Kane takes. Yep. Which leads into Spider Island. Kane, Spider Island was basically he got in the anti-Venom group and became the perfect clone. But the next big event is Spider Island from Dan Slott,
which is great. Spider Island and Big Time. The reason why I love those so much is because the reason why I was tricked into liking it so much, which that's not true. I can enjoy dumb stupid. I can enjoy Michael Bay movies. I can enjoy Big Time only because right before Big Time, we had Grim Hunt, which was a story about bodies being sacrificed, cut open, a 15-year-old Maddie Franklin dying, a dark spot. I fucking hate dark Spider-Man stories.
It's good every once in a while.
Yeah, you have a dark story for sure. Yeah. People like Kraven's Last Hunt is the best Spider-Man story. Fuck Kraven. I hate Kraven's Last Hunt. It's fine, but I don't want to read Batman.
Yeah.
In a Spider-Man costume, Spawn in a Spider-Man costume. I like Spider-Man being able to find the light moments and things. He can have dark moments for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't want a year's worth of
Yeah, I agree. No year's worth. I mean, you can have him lose someone he loves, and you can have a few issues. A mini story arc where he's down on his luck.
But Spider-Man's about optimism.
Yeah.
He is he takes accountability. He takes things hard. If someone dies, of course he's accountable for it. He takes it hard, but he isn't it doesn't. He's not Batman. It doesn't to give him a reason to do what he does. It does actually kind of, but that doesn't consume him and torment him. So that's why I like, because Big Time was just big dumb Saturday morning cartoon action figure Spider-Man. We got the costumes. It was very reminiscent of Eric Larson's run.
And this also add another costume to it. He was also sandwiched in between Big Time and Spider Island. He was part of the Future Foundation.
Spider Island was the Future. Was that before or after Spider Island?
That was in between, because I remember a few issues before Spider Island, there was the prelude, and there was. So Spider-Man joined the Fantastic Four, aka rebrand Future Foundation, after the Human Torch died.
Yep.
Well, died, I should say, because he was just lost in the negative zone or whatever it was. So Human Torch basically wanted Spider-Man to take his place.
Yep.
And
we got more cool action figure Saturday morning cartoons.
I'm pretty sure there was at least 2 costumes for the Future Foundation. One where it was the white and
white and black.
White and black, and then I think it was black and white. It switched back and forth.
Which I enjoyed that, because while I don't like there's some storylines like Spider. Why do I keep forgetting the name of the storyline? The one with all the different Spider-Men.
Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse is a little too cosmic for me. These were just cosmic and sciencey enough for me, because it was wacky science. Spider-Man loses I think 6 months of time going into space, the negative zones like that, and he comes back and Aunt May's banging Jonah Jameson's father, JJJ's father.
Yep.
Jameson becomes mayor in the time he's gone. So Spider-Man Fantastic Four quirky science stuff is good for me. So then we go into Spider Island like that after that, which is another great, just dumb Michael Bay film, with a bunch of characters with spider powers.
And I will still fight people who don't like the Michael Bay Transformer movies. Those movies
say what you want about Michael Bay. They're dumb. They're not they're not winning Oscars, but I've never walked out of a Michael Bay movie and not enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Besides maybe Pain and Gain, that was kind of
his last Transformers movie, I kind of fell asleep in it. So
it's a lot of Mark Wahlberg to sit through.
Yeah.
A lot of Jaeger Cates.
Yeah.
I think it's his name, Jaeger Kate and Jaeger Killian.
Yeah.
So we get Spider Island, a big dumb story. We get that superheroes and Spider-Man costumes, all those great covers. You the Avengers and Spider-Man costumes. You get that one with Mary Jane wearing the thigh high.
And we were also teased with Vanilla Scarlet Spider on the cover.
If we get another Scarlet Spider, but we did get a Scarlet Spider, not the one we wanted. We didn't know we wanted. We get the Scarlet Spider we deserved, not the one we needed or wanted.
There was also a miniseries during the Spider-Verse run where we had a Scarlet Spider, Ben Reilly. He was in his Ben Reilly Spider-Man suit, where we could have. They killed him off again, and instead of having this awful Ben Reilly that we have now, we could have had a Ben Reilly in an alternate universe. Perfect setting stage for him to be the Spider-Man of that universe.
We will talk about Ben Reilly.
Yeah.
Ben Reilly has basically become the Jean-Paul Valley of the Spider-Man.
Yeah, you can tell our love for Ben Reilly, and so we keep going on these tangents. So we're going to stop right here, right now, on the Ben Reilly up until we get up to Clone Conspiracy.
We'll talk about Clone Conspiracy, and you know what? We'll do an episode on Clone Saga, because that definitely deserves an episode. Maybe we'll try to reach out to Zach Joyner of Spider-Man Crawl Space.
Yes.
And try to get him. I'm sure he'd love to talk about it ad nauseum. So we go into Spider Island. At the end of that, we get the second of many Mary Jane teases, where we can't tell if Mary Jane remembers the pre One More Day.
I don't think she does, but she does know that he's Spider-Man. Which after that, in Brand New Day, they made it seem like no one remembers who he is, not even Mary Jane.
Yeah.
And then literally 2 issues later, they're like, "Oh, Mary Jane remembers who Peter is."
Yeah. So we get to see that she wants to be back together with him. She says a thing like where he's like ready to save the day, and she's like, "Oh, I love you," and he's like, "What'd you say?" Because he couldn't hear her during all the commotion. That's just forgotten about because Dan Slott is like, "Oh, I don't know how to write women, so I'm not going to do that anymore."
And also, he was also using Doc Ock technology.
That was
also further sets the seeds for his Superior Spider-Man.
That was phase 2 in the Doc Ock saga that was eventually accumulated into Superior Spider-Man.
And actually, we're going to get into phase 3 of Superior Spider-Man, the origins of Superior Spider-Man with World's End.
World's End. That's a storyline I remember enjoying, but I don't really remember in detail.
We got a new Spider-Man armor costume.
Yep, I remember that.
Basically, the whole plot of it is Doc Ock is dying. I know it was setting the stage in 600 where he was diagnosed with like a brain tumor type thing or something with his brain.
Yep. It was all mentioned in Matt Fraction's Iron Man also. They mentioned that.
And they're setting the stage where Doc Ock's dying. He wants, before he leaves, he wants to use his brain and his knowledge to show the world what he's truly capable of. And at the same time, he's holding the world hostage.
Yeah.
For like this energy source that can grow crops in the desert.
He's trying to create a legacy with him being a genius to save the world, but in all actuality, he's really like gonna fuck them over in the end.
And it's up to Spider-Man, who's basically by himself. I know Silver Sable's in it. We also Silver Sable dies in this issue. And when I say dies, most of these issues, it's the comic book universe. It
is a while before she comes back, though.
Yeah.
This storyline, I enjoyed it. Although this is where two things where I started noticing Marvel doing the events, where I'm like, okay, we were I think a year after Spider Island, so I'm like, oh, are we doing an event every year now?
And I wasn't, they weren't terrible, but even I was like, okay, enough of the events.
Yeah.
And one big Spider event after another. Like, this is the summer of Spider-Man. I'm like, wait, wasn't last summer the Spider-Man event of the year?
The thing that makes Marvel not just Spider-Man is that it's a soap opera. It's a continuous soap opera. It's not big, huge storylines. It's like, because, I mean, if you think about it, until before Axel Alonso took over, you can name Marvel events on one hand. Yeah. Whereas DC, there's like countless big stories, like, but Marvel is like a soap opera. It keeps on going. So I was getting a little like, okay, around this, and I think Planet Hulk came out a couple of years. I'm like, oh, I started noticing all the events, and I was myself getting events.
I felt Marvel was trying to always do an even better follow up.
Yeah.
To Civil War, which when Civil War came out, they were like, we're gonna have a major event.
Yeah.
Almost every summer, which is that's gonna be a sequel to Civil War, and so on and so on. And they some of them were great, and then some of them weren't. And
it became obnoxious.
yeah, too much.
This also is when I think Slott got a taste, because you had the Avengers in this book, you
Yep.
had Black Widow, Silver Sable. This is when started Slott's trend of like making Spider-Man his amazing friends.
Yeah.
The book where it wasn't Spider-Man wasn't the star of the book anymore. I mean, in this
Again, this is where he sets the seeds of
Yep.
of the incapable
yes,
Spider-Man, where he always needs someone else to help him out.
and this is a prime example of why that's the prime example anyway of why I don't think Slott understood the fundamentals of Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Where he was writing Dan Slott as Spider-Man. So we do World's End. I mean, in between we have a storyline with the Lizard where
He eats his kids.
he makes Slott starts making some really odd decisions, like where the Lizard eats his kids. There's a couple of the storylines. There's a Hobgoblin storyline, which I don't even think Slott wrote, but this is kind of like a transition where he's kind of gearing up for Amazing Spider-Man 700. In that storyline, we get Dr. Octopus on his. Actually, Mike. I think Mike remembers it better than I do.
So Doc Ock, like I said, one of the big things that got Doc Ock into Peter's brain was when he was using Doc Ock technology in 600, World's End, Spire Island, and because in World's End he was fighting a Sinister Six, so he had to create a suit that counteracted
Yep.
the Sinister Six's powers, and he implants his brain. I don't want to say ID or
He kind of makes their brain patterns like
yes, thank
fight
you.
each other pretty much in this machine.
And issue
Slot
700,
science.
Ender 700 comes out, and it's kind of almost like the death of
Peter Parker gets transferred into Dr. Octopus's dying body in a hospital bed. It's never really explained when it happens, right? This is in 700. This is like in 697 or 698.
yeah. So there was there was like 4 issues, and then there's like a .1 with Mobius, but it sets the stage.
That was in the same storyline as the Lizard. Yeah.
It sets the stage of Doc Ock taking over Peter's body, and Peter, which I never explained how Peter's brain patterns got into Doc Ock's body, but
if you ask Slott, like, why is it happening? He's like, because I wrote it that way.
Yeah.
Sometimes my brain doesn't brain.
And this sets the stage for Superior Spider-Man.
Yep. So we have Doc only has this issue to live. Peter and Doc Ock fight each other in each other's bodies. Obviously, Spider-Man's body beats Dr. Octopus, and Peter dies allegedly. Yeah, and so we end it with like Dr. Octopus getting like pretty much like a mix of the memories of Peter Parker and Spider-Man, and he decides he's gonna continue being Spider-Man, and we get the I'm gonna be a hero, Dr. Octopus.
I'm gonna be a much better Spider-Man than Peter Parker.
Yep.
And the whole thing during this was the Peter Parker never giving up.
Yep.
In Doc Ock's body, he kind of almost dies.
Yep.
The first time, and then you had this whole scene which I thought was beautifully written.
Where it shows like his but they basically
he's like in heaven, so to speak, and he sees all the people that died, and Ben comes up, don't let him take over your body. You're a Spider-Man, and I just thought it was great. And he comes back to life. He fights. Doc Ock just had that one last thing up on him because he kind of knew that Peter Parker was going to come back.
Yep.
And Peter Parker was actually trying to get on a plane ride just so he could be in the air for the next 24 hours because he knew that Peter Parker was dying.
Yep.
But they fight. They end up fighting, and I really thought that this was going to be it.
Yeah.
That Peter Parker was going to be back in his body, and Doc Ock was going to be the one that dies.
Yep.
But Spider-Man, in Spider-Man's body, he has like a metal plate in the back of his head, so he can't get in.
Yep.
And that's how it ends, with Peter Parker dying, so to speak, and Doc Ock being in Peter Parker's body as Superior Spider-Man.
I kind of knew the ending to this only because that's all I do is just troll the internet for spoilers like that, even though I shouldn't, but I do. So I kind of so this is where we start the Superior Spider-Man storyline, which is the point we're gonna kind of end the episode around here, and then talk about Superior, and then after that in a follow up episode, um, Superior Spider-Man is probably like the apex of Slott's run. This is as good as it gets. We're gonna reach the top of the mountain, and then we're gonna slide down after this.
And he started to slide down really quickly in Superior Spider-Man, especially towards the end during the Goblin Nation storyline.
Halfway through the Superior Spider-Man, which yeah, we can talk about that. We can talk about the fan reaction, which was like fucking stupid, and yeah, so we'll go through that. So for right now, this is part 1 of Dan Slott's run of Amazing Spider-Man. How'd you like the first half of his run so far?
First half, he had a lot of great ideas. I think he was the best part of Brand New Day Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I won't lie to you. When the first half of his run, I loved this. I loved Spider. I thought Dan Slott was like the second coming.
Mm-hmm.
I compared him to guys like Roger Stern, Tom DeFalco. I would tweet like Eric Larson saying how much this run reminded me of their run, and and he agreed. But then as brightly as he burned, he burnt out that much faster. So yeah, we'll end the episode here, and we'll start talking about the second half of the Superior Dan Slott next time. So
yes.
yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
See you next time, and goodbye.